Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 22 Virchow Prize for Global Health Award ceremony. The show will begin soon. Please take your seat and turn your mobile phones on silent. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Health is our most valuable asset, essential across communities and cultures in every region of the world. Now, for the first time, the Virchow Prize for Global Health honors those who dedicate their lives to improving health and well-being for all. Recognizing outstanding contributions within the broad and complex field of global health. This unique prize is named in honor of Rudolf Virchow, a renowned physician at the Charité University Hospital, Berlin. Known as one of the fathers of social medicine, Virchow united in one person the interdisciplinary and humanistic concept of well-being, which is needed today to improve health at a global scale. Like Virchow, laureates of the Virchow Prize for Global Health are examples in striving for these noble goals. Because health is more than just medicine. Promoting global health is the aim of the founders of the Virchow Prize for Global Health, which is awarded each year in Berlin, a city with a history unlike any other. Berlin today stands for humanitarianism, innovation, science, and medicine. In this spirit, The Virchow Prize aims to create a ripple effect in global health, from Berlin to the world, inspiring great minds and future generations in their commitment to creating a healthier, more sustainable planet. It is with this vision that the Virchow Prize for Global Health closely aligns with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, upholding health as a beacon, highlighting the importance of health and its interconnectedness across our global community, because health is a human right. Welcome to the Virchow Prize for Global Health Award Ceremony, honoring lifetime achievements and dedication towards health for all.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What a pleasure to welcome you today to the 2022 Virchow Prize for Global Health Awards ceremony. This is a special occasion because for the first time, the Virchow Prize for Global Health will be awarded to its first laureate, John Kengasong. The Virchow Prize for Global Health is awarded by the Virchow Foundation for Global Health and is the only international award of its kind which recognizes the broad spectrum of global health aligned with the United Nations 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. All of us here tonight are well aware of the exceptional challenges involved in upholding health as an essential right and a global public good. Through the awarding of this prestigious prize, we aim to celebrate the outstanding dedication of this year's laureate in his tireless efforts to ensure health is attainable to those who are most vulnerable. And we also seek to inspire future generations of activists, scientists, and politicians to continue advancing our common and noble goal of achieving health for all. It is significant that we are gathered here in Berlin, a truly unique and historic city which has reinvented itself to become a leading and central player for global health. To open the ceremony, it is my honor and pleasure to introduce the governing mayor of Berlin, Ms. Franziska Giffey.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Berlin. Excellencies, Excellency and Vice President Alfredo Enrique Borrero Vega, Minister of State Ava Marie Coll-Seck, Minister of State to the President of Senegal, Her Excellency Monica Dwenios, First Lady of the Republic of Namibia. A warm welcome also to the Director General of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus. I hope it's correct, so welcome very much. And among all guests, I welcome the Federal Minister of Germany for Health Issues, Professor Karl Lauterbach. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome on behalf of the city of Berlin. I extend a special welcome to the founders of the Virchow Foundation for Global Health in the audience, Friede Springer, Detlef Ganten, Gerald Haug, Roland Goede, and Professor Christoph Markschies, as well as the foundation's co-chair, Stephanie Sedou. And thanks to the Virchow Foundation, with one of the most generous health prizes, the Virchow Prize for Global Health is being awarded in Berlin for the first time today. And I can tell you, although I cannot see you at all, I can tell you that we are really, really proud that we can welcome all of you here in our beautiful German capital in Berlin. And in addition, I would like to thank the Virchow Foundation and you, Professor Haug, very warmly for organizing this event and for inviting me to address you today. Berlin is a very fitting place to be awarding the Virchow Prize for Global Health because we owe a lot to the person this prize is named after, Rudolf Virchow, a physician and politician who worked extremely hard to improve living conditions in Berlin at the end of the 19th century, for instance, by establishing municipal hospitals. For Berlin, this award ceremony is a great sign of recognition. It highlights the achievements of all the people away from the spotlight who contribute every day to Berlin's good reputation as a center for health through their work in the fields of science and research and also of care. The Virchow Foundation for Global Health designed this award to pay tribute to innovations and lifetime achievements significantly impacting health challenges we all face as a global community. We can only ensure a healthy life in the spirit of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals if we meet up with one another and if we share our knowledge and our ideas. This is also the message this award ceremony is sending out today. And the principle of connecting medical science, research, and also care is also the foundation for Berlin's success as a center for health. Today, we can proudly say that since the fall of the Berlin Wall, we have set exactly the right course. Berlin is now a science metropolis and a health sector hub. Together with our neighbor Brandenburg, Berlin is a leading international location for life science and for the health sector. With around 390,000 employees working of about 22,000 companies, the health sector generates an annual turnover of around 30 billion euros. Our city is proud to have 145 hospitals and around 40 prestigious scientific institutions, including Charité, including the Robert Koch Institute, the German Heart Center Berlin, and many other renowned institutes. Our flagship, the Charité Berlin, is one of the top 5 hospitals in the world. And the renowned German Heart Center is one of the 10 best specialist hospitals worldwide. The Rahel Hirsch Center for Translational Medicine, with a combined outpatient, translation, and innovation center, is yet another innovative health location in our city. And just recently, we could open a start signal for the Berlin Institute for the Foundations of Learning and Data, the BIFOLD, an artificial intelligence competence center for data analytics, for big data, and for AI technologies opened its doors. And since last year, Berlin has also been home to the global hub for pandemic and epidemic intelligence. The founding of the World Health Organization Hub is an important step towards understanding pandemic control and prevention as a task for the whole of humanity that needs to be further pursued and well coordinated. Ladies and gentlemen, the list of flagships in this field of science, research, and hospitals is impressive, no question. It is by no means a given, but rather, first and foremost, the result of the excellent cooperation between all actors from all areas. And it is precisely for this reason that there in Berlin, we are so incredibly proud of our excellent national and international reputation in the health sector. And thanks to all of you in the cooperation, we are delighted that we can work together with other organizations in the world to be and to make Berlin as a part of this big global development. And last week, for instance, we had very special guests here. The World Medical Association held its General Assembly here. And in May, we had the honor of welcoming the health ministers of the G7 countries to Berlin's Red Town Hall. And we are particularly proud of the World Health Summit, which starts tomorrow in our city and has been held in Berlin since 2009. And Professor Axel Pries, I'm delighted to also welcome you among the guests at this award ceremony as president of the World Health Summit. Very warm welcome to all of you. And of course, we are delighted that this leading global conference is the perfect match for Berlin, just as our city is a fitting venue for today's award ceremony. And dear Dr. Nkenga Song, although you have not actually been presented the prize just yet, I would already like to take the opportunity to congratulate you on this award. The fight against HIV and AIDS is still of great importance, even here in Berlin. And despite of all the medical progress that has been made, there is still a lot to do. And that is why it is important to make a statement with this today's award ceremony. Health is a global issue that concerns us all and that can only be promoted together. But it also takes people like you, Mr. Nkenga Song, who give their all their effort, all their power, all their nerves, all their engagement to tackle these challenges. So I can only say from Berlin to you and to all your colleagues who work with you and who support you, our heartfelt thanks for your tireless work. Congratulations to this success. And now I wish to all of you a wonderful awarding ceremony. I wish you a wonderful evening and, apart from that, a great stay in Berlin. Maybe when you come out of this hotel today, you will see that in these days until tomorrow we have a festival of lights in Berlin, and I can recommend you go to Unter den Linden from the Brandenburg Gate to the Alexanderplatz to the TV Tower. Look at how many people gather together, and I hope you enjoy the lights, and I hope you enjoy the hope which is connected to the lights, even in a time which is not so easy. But when we look in the future with a serious confidence, we can make it, and we will make also to manage this crisis that is in front of us. So thanks to all of you. Welcome again to Berlin, and a very nice evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mayor Giffey, for your special and very warm welcome to the amazingly beautiful and intense city of Berlin. It is now my great pleasure to invite to the stage the president of the Virchow Foundation. Please come to the stage, dear Gerald Haug.
Yeah, you can't see anything up here. Dear Mayor Giffey, dear Minister Lauterbach, dear Dr. Tedros, dear Ambassador Seydoux, dear Ambassador Nkenga Song, dear John, esteemed guests, friends, and colleagues, it is my honor and immense pleasure to welcome you to this very special evening on the occasion of the inaugural Virchow Prize for Global Health award ceremony under the high patronage of the German Federal President, Frank-Walter Steinmeier. Thank you, Ambassador Seydoux, not only for moderating tonight's ceremony, but also for your long-standing partnership and commitment to the Virchow Foundation for Global Health. And my sincere thank you to you, Mayor Franziska Giffey, for your wonderful opening words, so well underlining your support and inspiring leadership for global health in Berlin. When we established the Virchow Foundation for Global Health on October 13 last year, the 200th birthday of Rudolf Virchow, it was a clear and hopeful mission to broaden public awareness on the importance of global health and to establish even stronger partnerships towards mobilizing the attainment of the so-called SDGs, the United Nations 2030 Agenda of the Sustainable Development Goals. Health and well-being are the goods that are valued most highly and importantly by each individual and by society as a whole across borders, cultures, and religions. These values are a compass at the heart of the sustainable development and, at the same time, a prerequisite for a prosperous socio-economic development, for education, a thriving culture, diversity, freedom, justice, and peace. Thus, health and well-being are for all in our common and noble goal. A key pillar of this mission and the work of the Foundation is the awarding of the annual Virchow Prize for Global Health. This prize is unique as it is the only prestigious award of its kind at highest international level to directly address the relationship between medical, political, economic, and social determinants of health, while aiming to contribute to sustainable and universal improvements of health outcomes, aligning these efforts directly with the United Nations SDGs. It is this vision that drives the mission, goal, and work of the Virchow Foundation for Global Health to mobilize action for equitable health attainment from Berlin to the world. Carried out by a broad community of key health players in the country's capital and across Germany, while working together in close, sustainable partnerships with internationally leading actors from all sectors and exceptional experts from all over the globe. The Virchow Foundation for Global Health set up its office in Berlin in recognition of the capital's influential role as a pillar within the global health landscape, not just of Germany. Together, the Virchow Foundation and the Virchow Prize for Global Health will jointly create an awareness-raising platform for health as an essential human need and right, fostering joint exchange, interaction, and cooperation amongst all relevant and committed players at global scale. As the Virchow Foundation and the Virchow Prize for Global Health continue to grow their impact, we aim to take together with all of you the momentum of this inaugural award ceremony to broaden the support and commitment from the global health community. To anchor our joint mission and goals for global health, the Foundation has launched a Friends Network to advance the future of global health. Additional information on how you can engage with this network can be found in the printed ceremony program, and it will be shared widely following the ceremony. On behalf of the founders, I would like to close in extending recognition, appreciation, and gratitude towards our members of the Board of Trustees, the Council, and the Virchow Prize Committee. All in all, 45 international leading experts with exceptional track records engaged and committed to support our foundation on an honorary basis. We are especially grateful to the Virchow Prize Committee for their dedication in ensuring the success and realization of the 2022 Virchow Prize for Global Health. The Virchow Prize Committee is a jury of 15 experts from around the world who shape and decide the annual laureate selection. This includes reviewing and deducing from a large number of qualified candidates, followed by multiple thoughtful discussions to determine the final prize winner of this year's prize. As this was the first nomination in the selection process, the Virchow Prize Committee displayed dedication, patience, and shared passion for the success of this new endeavor, ultimately resulting in the decision for a extremely well-deserving laureate of the 2022 Virchow Prize for Global Health, John Gengasong. Thank you very much on behalf of the Virchow Foundation for Global Health, and I hope you enjoy this evening's ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gerald. And it is quite amazing what has been achieved in so little time by the Virchow Foundation, but we'll hear about this later on in the evening. Now it is my pleasure to welcome Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, the Director General of the World Health Organization. Please, Dr. Tedros.
Thank you, Moderator Ambassador Seydu. The Honorable Governing Mayor of Berlin, Franziska Giffey. I think I have said your name well. I'm reciprocating. And my good friend, Minister Karl Lauterbach, President of the Virchow Foundation, Professor Dr. Gerald Haug, and I heard, if I'm right, First Lady of Namibia is here, so Your Excellency, First Lady Monica Gengos of Namibia. And since we're co-hosting the World Health Summit together, I'd like to address also my good friend, Professor Axel Priss, and to the winner of the prize, Ambassador, the doctor is cancelled, I think now, Ambassador John Gengasong, my brother, Excellencies, dear colleagues and friends, Guten Abend. It's an honor to be here. And I thank the Virchow Foundation for Global Health and the city of Berlin for hosting us tonight and for bringing us together to recognize our friend, John. The Virchow Prize symbolizes outstanding achievement in global health, but it also symbolizes Germany's leadership in global health in recent years. They say that in a crisis, you really find out who your friends are. And in the course of the COVID-19 pandemic, Germany has been a true friend to WHO. Thank you. When the pandemic struck, the German government moved quickly to expand its financial support for WHO, becoming our biggest donor. Germany was also one of the first supporters of the Access to COVID-19 Tools Accelerator. That same year, the German government launched its ambitious Global Health Strategy 2000. And last year, I had the honor of being here in Berlin to open the WHO Hub for Pandemic Preparedness, for Pandemic and Epidemic Intelligence with Chancellor Merkel. As a Berliner, Rudolf Virchow would have been proud. It was just 2 days ago, as the president of the foundation said, that we celebrated Dr. Virchow's 201st birthday. Virchow was a public health pioneer. With his recognition that health started long before the patient arrived at the doctor's office, and that economic and social conditions were fundamental. And that remains true. Health begins not in hospitals and clinics, but in homes, schools, streets, supermarkets, workplaces, and cities. Indeed, much of the work that health systems do is not healthcare, but sick care, dealing with the consequences of poor diets, polluted environments, unsafe roads and workplaces, inadequate health literacy, and the aggressive marketing of harmful products. That's why WHO is calling on all countries to make an urgent paradigm shift towards promoting health and preventing disease by addressing the root causes of disease and creating the social, economic, and environmental conditions in which health can thrive. I had a meeting, the first bilateral meeting was with my friend, Minister Karl Lauterbach, and that was one of the issues we discussed, promoting health, healthy lifestyle, addressing the root cause. That should be at the center of global health. Making that shift requires a radical reorientation of health systems towards primary health care as the foundation of universal health coverage. Primary health care is the best investment in promoting health and preventing disease. But it also operates at the eyes and ears of the health system, detecting and responding to outbreaks at their earliest stage. This is something that my brother John Kengasong knows only too well. As the former director of the Africa CDC, John knows that outbreaks start and end in communities, and that weaknesses in health systems at the local level can become national, regional, and even global risks. And now, as US Global AIDS Coordinator, John knows only too well that it's the strengths of the health system at the local level that can make the difference between preventing an HIV infection or not, between early diagnosis or not. between early treatment or not, and between life and death. John's work in bridging the gap for equitable health care for the world's most underserved and vulnerable is an inspiration to us all, and especially for the next generation of African health leaders. My brother, my colleague, my friend, congratulations, not only to you, but to the beautiful family that have joined you this evening. This award is richly deserved. And I'm proud of you. Africa is proud of you. And we are all proud of you. Vielen Dank. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tedros. Thank you for your leadership in global health, and thank you for reminding us of the fundamentals. Thank you for your patronage to this amazing event tonight. It is now my special pleasure to welcome to the stage the German Federal Minister of Health, Dr. Karl Lauterbach.
Dear Mayor Franziska Giffey, I hope I pronounced your name well. Dear Ambassador John Kenya-Song, dear friend Tedros, dear Professor Haug, my colleagues, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I will give only a brief introduction into what I believe which is a great celebration and an honor for us here in Germany. It's a great pleasure and an honor for me also personally to address you today at the award ceremony in the honor of the life and work of Rudolf Virchow. Virchow, who was one of the first to basically recognize the importance of global health, a term which at his time was most certainly not known. But Virchow, ahead of his time, recognized how living conditions, infectious diseases, lays the foundations for a good life. And this has not changed ever since. Not ever since it has changed that we depend on our environment more so than in the past, that infectious diseases basically kill children, kill adults, and they in particular kill those that are already lacking primary health, as Dr. Tedros, my friend, was already pointing out. Virchow was also one of the first people to recognize that it is sometimes important to become politically active if you are a doctor. And he moved into politics as a doctor, as I have done myself, as a matter of fact, for very similar reasons, because I also very early on in my career recognized that it is sometimes necessary to change the political conditions in a society in order to have an impact on public health and the life of people. But Virchow, way beyond what we can achieve nowadays, was ahead of his time. And therefore, I think it is very well expressed by Professor Haug that this is, to my knowledge at least, the only prize, recognized international prize, which recognizes this interaction, living conditions, public health, pandemics, the future of mankind, in many ways, how social life and living conditions interplay with medicine and the prospects of our future. I would like to point out that these interactions are nowadays more important than they have ever been before, because currently we deal with the risk of climate change, war, pandemics, and threats to public health. And it is a time where the spiral goes either up or the spiral goes down. If we have more climate change, we will have more wars, we will have more pandemics, and we will have less public health. If the spiral goes up, we will basically deal with the risk of climate change, we will have fewer wars, we will have fewer pandemics, and we will have better public health and better living conditions. So the prize, in many ways, is about that spiral. Is it a spiral up or is it a spiral down? And the future is uncertain with respect to this very important issue. I do not know of anyone, as a matter of fact, who would deserve this prize, the initial prize, to the degree that Ambassador John Kenya-Song does. It's a great honor, therefore, for me to be here today to welcome the prize ceremony, but also to welcome Ambassador John Kenya-Song. He's not only deserving the prize, but he is in one person what we talked about. He is in one person someone who on an international level understood in a way that very few people do the interaction between climate change, peace, public health, and fewer pandemics. So congratulations. We are proud to have you here in Germany. We are proud to host this ceremony, and we are looking forward to the collaboration with you. It is a great honor to have you here. It is a great honor that you accept the prize, and this is a very great pleasure for me to be here this evening and share this important moment with you.
Thank you so much, Minister Lauterbach. And coming from a doctor and a politician, I think you have made an impression on many in the audience. Thank you. So now, a very special moment. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you musicians who have come from various corners of the world, who have been influenced in their music by all parts of the globe. Now they will come on stage and introduce their own personal compositions, which I will play to you. Please help me welcome Lili Dahab, Bene Aperdania, and Juan Camilo Villarrobles. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. We decided for this special night to sing for you a masterpiece from the Latin American music, which is called Gracias a la Vida, Thank to Life, just to celebrate that we have health, and sometimes we take it for granted.
Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me dio dos luceros que cuando los abro, perfecto distingo lo negro del blanco, y en el alto cielo su fondo estrellado, y en las multitudes al hombre que yo amo. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado el sonido y el abecedario, con las palabras que pienso y declaro. Madre, amigo, hermano y luz alumbrando la ruta del alma del que estoy amando, del que estoy amando. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto. Me ha dado el oído que en todo su ancho graba noche y día, grillos y canarios, martillos, turbinas, ladridos, chubascos y la voz tan tierna de mi bien amado. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me dio el corazón que agita su marco cuando miro el fruto del cerebro humano, cuando miro al bueno tan lejos del malo, cuando miro el fondo de tus ojos claros. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado la risa y me ha dado el llanto. Así yo distingo dicha de quebranto, los dos materiales que forman mi canto y el canto de ustedes que es mi mismo canto, y el canto de todos que es mi propio canto, y el canto de ustedes que es mi mismo canto, que es mi mismo canto. Gracias a la vida, gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, gracias a la vida, gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, gracias a la vida, gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, gracias a la vida. Gracias a la vida.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Vielen Dank. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Bene and Lily and Juan Camilo, for this incredibly beautiful rendering of the famous and beautiful Violeta Parra song. Thank you so much. Well, this evening, we are gathered here in order to recognize the first 2022 Virchow Prize for Global Health. And it is now a great pleasure to honor John Kangasong. To provide his laudation, it is my honor to invite to the stage Peter Piotr. Please give him a round of applause. He is Special Advisor to the President of the European Commission and former Director of the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. Peter, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. And dear John, Susan, Gladys, colleagues and friends, all protocols observed, as they say in some countries. Let me start by congratulating the
the founders of this initiative, of the Virchow Prize for Global Health. It's long overdue, and now it's there. And I can't think of a better inaugural laureate than my dear friend and colleague, John Kengasong. And I'm very honored to provide the laudatio. Dear John, I vividly remember our first encounter. It was in 1988, last century, at the CUS, the Centre Universitaire des Sciences de la Santé in Yaoundé, where I attended an AIDS conference. And together with our common friend, the late Peter Ndoumbe, I fairly randomly entered the lab where you were working. Could have been another one. And you were the only one present because all your colleagues were out for lunch. And with precision and passion, the young student that you were explained the studies you were conducting on hepatitis B among pregnant women. Ladies and gentlemen, I must say that in less than 20 minutes, I was deeply impressed by John. I saw a great potential, to use a Freudian term, the kind of aha-erlebnis, as I've had a few times in my life when interacting with young African scientists and physicians. Because more is in you. This was a typical mixture of serendipity and seizing the opportunity, which so often determines what happens in our lives. Thanks to a Belgian scholarship, and above all through your hard work, you obtained 2 masters and a PhD, conducting your research in my lab at the Institute of Tropical Medicine in Antwerp. Today, about everybody knows about viral variants of SARS-CoV-2. But 30 years ago, John actually did pioneering work on variants, they were not called that way yet, on genomic and antigenic diversity of HIV-1. As HIV in Cameroon showed such about the largest diversity, that kind of diversity in the earlier years of the HIV epidemic. And John not only studied the virus, but also the immunology, the potential implications for vaccine development. We were very optimistic then that we would have a vaccine. We still don't have one. And he was very, very productive, publishing about 30 papers in the few years that he was in the lab. When John had obtained his PhD, I invited him to a new challenge. I said, you're a great scientist, you're doing all this work. Now let's see how you're doing in terms of leading a group of scientists and leading a lab. In other words, how will the management be? Because that's not, in general, the specialty of many scientists. And it's so essential. And you were the first African boss that these people had when I made you the head of the clinical virology lab in our department. And you did brilliantly. That's another test you passed. Maybe a more difficult one than the science one. And after nearly 2 years, John joined Kevin de Kock in Abidjan at the CDC Projet Retro-C, where he established one of Africa's most sophisticated virology lab, starting from scratch. And many groundbreaking studies were done on HIV, clinical trials, antiviral resistance, just name it. But when in 2002, civil war in Côte d'Ivoire made it very difficult to continue the work, John moved to Atlanta, to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, which would be his base and home for many years. While continuing his research, particularly in the diagnostic area, HIV diversity, immune response, and so on, Above all, I would say John set up the lab infrastructure and network for PEPFAR in Africa. This has been a thread throughout your life, and that is to make sure that it's not just research, but it's also strengthening the capacity, meaning that the work can be done also when you're no longer there. John gradually got increasing managerial responsibilities at CDC, became acting deputy director of the Center for Global Health. But then in 2017, a very interesting opportunity arose. And you choose the huge challenge and the unknown of that challenge above a more comfortable career path at Centers for Disease Control. And I can imagine that the disastrous Ebola epidemic in West Africa had shocked you as much as it shocked me and others, and was really part of the incentive to move and to take on the challenge and to move to Addis Ababa to become the founding director of Africa CDC. And then, and at CDC, it was like a startup in the bureaucracy of the African Union. Just imagine. The first year, no office. I remember we communicated. You were always in some hotel room, living and working, no assistant, an unclear mandate, unclear political commitment. Many would give up for less than that, but not John. He moved through political and bureaucratic minefields and skepticism all around, but there was also some support. I'd like to thank Dr. Tedros for some initial support that you were giving. So this was the time that John laid the groundwork for surveillance, for laboratories, networks, preparedness, political support at both the Africa Commission and member states, recruited staff, developed partnerships, so with the 2 WHO regional offices, and he found the time to co-found the African Society for Laboratory Medicine, one of the few professional societies in Africa. And then, as we all know, COVID-19 hit the world. John was ready. Decades of growing leadership and work had prepared him for this. And already in February 2020, he made sure there were diagnostics, because there were none, had to be imported from Germany to diagnose COVID. And he supported the first training in COVID diagnostics in Africa with Amadou Sall at the Institut Pasteur in Dakar. As we all know, Africa has been largely left behind in terms of vital products to the AIDS response, and the COVID response. But rather than, as in the past, spending a lot of time complaining and then counting on support from donor countries and charity, the African Union and Africa CDC took Africa's destiny in their own hands, largely thanks to John's leadership and inspiration, and with the support of leaders such as President Ramaphosa. For me, this is the silver lining of the COVID pandemic. For the first time, Africa and its representative political body, the African Union, resolutely took the lead in a health issue and set the terms of action and collaboration. It shows how important regional entities are, just as we've seen here in Europe with the European Union. And John was the mastermind and face of much of that. Working with numerous partners, he initiated pooled procurement, strengthening of lab capacity, laying the groundwork of vaccine deployment before we even knew that a vaccine was possible, And he launched several task forces and alliances to procure vaccines, to deliver them, and now also very importantly to manufacture them. Because one of the lessons is that you cannot count on other regions to provide you with vital products because borders may be closed, because everybody needs them. So local manufacturing is going to be extremely essential. In these efforts, John brought together not only the classical ones, governments and multilaterals such as WHO, and I salute Chidi Moeti here with us, the Regional Director for Africa, but also the private sector, business and civil society. This is obviously how we used to work on AIDS, but it's not yet the rule it should be in global health. As a result of his credibility in this field, as developing partnerships, he could mobilize over $1 billion from the MasterCard Foundation, the largest gift ever, single gift ever in health. Not sure when you slept, John, but I'm sure you didn't sleep much. But what's equally important is that John was able to mobilize the presidents of the continent, the leaders, not only the ministers of health, but the prime ministers and the presidents. Because without such leadership, progress is very hard, because no tough decisions will be taken, the money will not be there. And that is a skill that is extremely essential, but also rare among people with a scientific background. I also found out that I knew that John is a very nice man with a very good sense of humor, but I've seen him several times, how he stood up against the international development and global health establishment to defend Africa's interests and autonomy, but with the art of never blowing up bridges, because we all need each other. Bravo for that as well, John. Now, the pandemic is not over. More epidemics are definitely coming. But I believe that, thanks to John, Africa is better prepared. Not yet fully. And your legacy is already enormous. Africa CDC has become an autonomous agency and with an expanded mandate. Let's make sure it has the resources, the political support, and can develop the partnerships with others, the continent. Now, since June, a new chapter has started in your life, and we now need to call John ambassador, as we heard, as he's taking up another mammoth task, leading PEPFAR, the largest global health investment ever. PEPFAR is not only, or leading PEPFAR, is not only requiring scientific and managerial talents, which John has, but also it requires formidable political skills. This time, mostly in the United States of America. Good luck, John. You can do it. Yes, you can. I can't talk about John without mentioning your family, so important in everything you've been doing. Susan, thank you for being with us and being with John, and hope that you finish your DR PH on Public Health at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine very soon. Gladys, thank you for being with us, and the two boys, hope that they're following online. Now, this is not the first award that John receives. Just think of Time, Fortune, Bloomberg, The New African, The Continent magazine, all called him one of the most influential people in the world or in Africa. No small thing. But undoubtedly, the Virchow Prize is the most prestigious honor of all. But it's for me also, and for all of us, to collectively thank you for everything that you've done. Not only to congratulate you, but also to thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now my great honor to formally announce the first ever winner of the Virchow Prize for Global Health, John Nkengasong. John, please join me on the stage.
Of the prize, and I would like you to please welcome to the stage the founders of the Virchow Foundation for Global Health, Frieda Springer, Gerald Haug, Detlef Ganten, Christoph Marksches, and Roland Godet. Please. And I would also like Mayor Giffey and Dr. Tedros to join us for the group photograph. And Minister Lauterbach, please join us if you're, yes, of course. So, Ms. Springer, if you could please do the honors of presenting John Nkengasong with the 2022 Virchow Prize for Global Health with the trophy. And Christoph Marksches, if you could please present the certificate. And I think we will have a group photograph. I think you can move closer, maybe.
Congratulations, John. Before we pause for pictures to be taken on stage with you and the trophy and everyone, I would like to take this brief minute to explain what this prize presents. It's being designed by artists around Professor Axel Kufus, Noah Lerner, and Bastian Thürich from the Berlin University of Arts, the Universität der Künste, in very close collaboration with the Virchow Foundation. This is a specimen jar which was curated from the pathology laboratory of the Charité and is estimated to be about 100 years old. Exactly the same jars were utilized by Rudolf Virchow himself to preserve medical discoveries and demonstrate them to his fellow scientists and to his students. It's heavy, so I'm done quickly. Specimens presented within this jar bridges the work of Rudolf Virchow with John Nkengasong's ongoing contributions for global health. Inside is an inscription praising the accomplishments of John Nkengasong with a symbolic vial called Vaccine for or against inequity. And it has an inscription coming from Peter Peel's laudation, I cite, at the core of John Nkengasong's impact over the past 30 years is the overcoming the inequities of global health by strengthening public health systems and access for the world's most vulnerable. All, of course, would be and isn't so easy if we could be developing a vaccine for everyone. The very special trophy is yours, dear John. A replica of the trophy will be featured within the Historical Museum of the Charité for visitors side to side with the historical exhibits of Rudolf Virchow to view and learn about John Nkengasong as the 2022 Virchow Prize winner and Virchow for Global Health laureate. Participants of the World Health Summit will be able to view this replica at the hotel lobby after the ceremony. So now it's time for the pictures.
Yes. Yes, why don't you? Oh, yes, you've got an advantage with size. Yes. That's done. Okay. Oh no, but I don't want to stand in front of the prize. Stand and provide your speech. I would like you to please thank the founders for handing the prize. And we can now give our full attention to John Kangasong. If you could please provide your speech.
Thank you, Ambassador Stephanie Sédou. Thank you, Peter, for that excellent and very generous and kind remarks. Dignitaries, the Mayor of Berlin, Franziska Giffey, Director General of WHO, my dear friend and brother, Dr. Tedros, Professor Peter Piot, the Regional Director of the World Health Organization Office in Africa, Dr. Chidi Moeti, my friend, Professor Gerard Holt, the President of the Virchow Foundation, honorable ministers here present, Excellency, the First Lady of Namibia here present, Excellencies, the ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, my very personal friend and childhood friend, Dr. Chief Fosengong, who flew all the way from London to join us here. Greetings and good evening. I'm truly humbled and honored to accept the Virchow Prize for Global Health on behalf of the Global Health community. Even more humble is the overwhelming feeling of being the first inaugural recipient of this prestigious prize. Let me then extend my sincere thanks to the committee that thought it worthwhile to selecting me as the inaugural director, the inaugural prize winner. It is such a big burden and responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and colleagues, we are here today to celebrate global health, the remarkable achievements that we've all made in advancing global health. But I accept this prize for global health today at a moment where over 620 million people across the world have been infected with the SARS-CoV-2 virus that has killed about 6.5 million people just in under 3 years. I also accept this award today, recognizing the over 85 million people in the world that have died from a terrible disease, the HIV/AIDS pandemic over the last 40 years, that have been infected, I beg your pardon, and 40 million dead, and about 38 million still living with this terrible disease. I accept the prize today knowing that the global health community is battling multiple public health challenges, including repeated Ebola outbreaks, monkeypox outbreaks, cholera outbreaks, non-communicable diseases are rising. So it's a complex time. In the 21st century, global health will continue to be challenged by population growth, climate change, urbanization, increased pressure on the water supply, and other challenges that we cannot even imagine. I also accept this prize recognizing the tremendous disparity, tremendous inequalities, inequities, and tremendous gaps in health systems that exist in the world and in the landscape of global health. In 1971, Julian Hart published a paper in The Lancet and talked about the inverse care law, which essentially says where there's greatest need, there's limited ability or capabilities. It was about 50 years ago. Today, it is still very valid, that disparity. I reflect a lot on disparity because of my own personal humble beginnings. I was severally, growing up in my country of birth, Cameroon, affected by malaria, where you struggle to go to the pharmacy to buy malaria treatment, but you end up buying only an aspirin tablet to calm your fever. Whereas health systems were very weak and continue to be so. So I advance public health and global health every day, and I mean every day with that in mind. The word global in global health can be subjective or objective, depending on the context and setting. And some still sees global health as doing services to others. It is not true. Global health is about all of us sharing the same planet, the same humanity. In 2009, Peter Piot, and I always said Peter because, as you heard, he was my mentor. So if I've succeeded, it's because of him. And as I scare him all the time, if I've failed, it's because of him. And I don't think that. So in 2009, Peter wrote a piece in The Lancet, and he entitled it, Health is Global. So he reversed global health and made it health global, which in today's context of the current pandemic we are living, which is the COVID-19 pandemic, we have truly seen that for the first time how global health is truly global, and that health is global. In 3 words, he described essentially the concept that what affects anyone everywhere affects all of us in the field of global health. Like public health, medicine, global health, there are 3 basic concepts that have guided my thinking in global health. One is the ability to continue to generate new knowledge and theories about global health issues. Second is to determine the structural factors that are causing the problems that we need to face. And thirdly is developing global solutions with appropriate frameworks, strategies, policies, laws, political leadership, and diplomacy. In fact, global health is intrinsically linked to good diplomacy and good political leadership. Let me profile one of my global health heroes that is perhaps not always mentioned. I always remember Kofi Annan as one of my greatest public health heroes. When Kofi Annan became Secretary General of the UN, just before the turn of the century, there was tremendous ignorance and denial of HIV/AIDS epidemic were at the heights.
and new infections were rising dramatically. Poor countries, especially in Africa, had no access to life-saving drugs. Kofi Annan was instrumental in breaking the taboo around AIDS, using diplomatic prowess and his charismatic manner to convince leaders to act. If that didn't work, then Kofi Annan would speak up. He would say, in quotes, "Friends, we know what it takes to turn the tides against this epidemic. It requires every president, prime minister, every parliamentarian and politician to decide and declare, in quotes, AIDS stops with me. AIDS stop with me." Mr. Annan demanded that deeds be followed by proclamations. When governments invested less than $1 billion for the prevention and treatment of HIV/AIDS, he demanded 10. And his efforts, and relentless efforts, led to the creation of the Global Fund. He famously stated, in quote, "Health is not something we should dream of, but it's a human right to be fought for." I expand a lot on this because I believe strongly that Rudolf Virchow would have been proud of Mr. Annan's and in addressing today's challenges that we face in global health, i.e. the fight against HIV/AIDS at that time. And of course, today, the fight is against the COVID-19 pandemic. Because it requires a philosophical and visionary thinking that Professor Rudolf Virchow embodied. He was himself, as we've heard, a physician, a biologist, anthropologist, a politician, and a writer. And he said, and I quote, "Medicine is social science, and politics is nothing but medicine on a grand scale." In brief, good global health practice is good political leadership. Receiving this prize for global health today symbolizes the spirit of global health and partnerships that I believe in, and I believe in so strongly, that continues to inspire and engage the progress we are all making in global health. Today, I come to Berlin as a trustee, inspired with a renewed dedication to global health. I accept this prize on behalf of all men and women who are engaged in the fight in breaking down the barriers against inequality in global health, especially in reversing the inverse care law famously stated by Julian Tudor-Hart. As a trustee, from the depth of my conscience, I'm aware that the prize is much more than an honor for me personally. Rather, it recognizes the many supporters and enablers who have accompanied my journey over the last 3 decades. Permit me paraphrase Dr. Martin Luther King. He said, "Every time I take a flight, I'm always mindful of the many people who make the successful journey possible, the known pilots and the unknown ground crew." As such, coming from a humble beginning, I had to lean on the shoulders of giants. In that spirit, let me recognize my undergraduate studies at the University of Yaoundé, where, as Peter mentioned, I met him for the first time when I was working in the laboratory of late Professor Peter Ndumbe in the 80s. 2 important mentors in my life that we named our first son, Pete Martin, who couldn't be here after them. Shortly after that chance that Peter outlined, I remembered in that famous encounter in a laboratory doing a test, and I saw somebody knock a door, and that lab was not more than 3 meters by 3 meters, and it was a toilet that we have transformed into a laboratory to do serology for hepatitis. That's where Peter found me. He actually became the catalyst for my career in public health, having created the opportunity for me to travel to Belgium. And after my first master's degree, I also remember him coming into the lab and asking me if I was interested in staying on for a PhD, which I said yes, and that gave me the opportunity to do a PhD in virology. But he took a risk on me and made me a lab head, as you heard him say, at a very early age of 34. I'm not sure why he took such a risk, but I'm sure, Peter, you'll be proud today that it was not a wasted investment. The point is, give young people a chance. Even at the age of 34, give them that responsibility and leadership. When I joined the US CDC in 1995, it became clear that I would use the skill sets gathered from Antwerp and from the University of Yaoundé, Cameroon, to find my way through such a complex, fascinating, and state-of-the-art public health organization. But of course, you had to stand on the shoulders of giants, people who were willing to mentor. Here, it is my privilege to recognize the likes of Dr. Allen Greenberg, Kevin de Kock, who were some of the first people that recruited me into the US CDC and truly transformed me from a basic virologist to a public health expert when I worked in Côte d'Ivoire. I then would like to recognize the likes of Dr. Birx, who was the former coordinator doing the job I'm doing today, that gave me that umbrella and space when we were both at CDC to think through laboratory systems, networks, and in establishing jointly the African Society for Laboratory Medicine in 2011, together with Dr. Tedros, who is here. Dr. Tedros, remember that famous afternoon or morning in Addis Ababa where we decided that it was time to create a society for laboratory medicine in Africa. And the society is up and running today and one of the strongest laboratory medicine society in Africa. I also recall and reflect my journey in public health and also think of the interface between good public health practice and good politics. And I would like at this point to recognize the strong leadership of President Cyril Ramaphosa, who happened to be the chair of the African Union when COVID hit the continent. He provided exceptional leadership together with Chairperson Moussa Faki, and that brought the intersection between good public health and global health practice and politics, benefited tremendously from their political leadership. I call the creation of the Africa CDC the greatest or one of the greatest political innovations at the African Union. They saw firsthand how their own institution could guide them in the fight against HIV/AIDS in a contributive and partnership manner. I also saw firsthand the talented young staff of a young organization who were committed. They would come to work at 6 in the morning and leave at 11 p.m. at the heart of the pandemic. Most of them were infected. They go home for a week or 10 days, come right back to work. I saw firsthand how if you incentivize the space and believe in the young leaders, they can truly express their leadership skills. In my current role as the US Global AIDS Coordinator and Special Representative for Global Health, I'm very comforted that I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. I mentioned Ambassador Birx, Ambassador Gooseby, Ambassador Daibo, who have all given me their shoulders, their broad shoulders to lean on as I prepare to take on a new assignment, which is to work with the likes of Winnie, who is here, the Executive Director of UNAIDS, the Global Fund, and others to bring HIV/AIDS to an end by the year 2030. We saw a clear expression of political leadership again in New York just a few weeks ago at the UN General Assembly when President Biden led the efforts to replenish the Global Fund, where all G7 leaders and many heads of states from Africa came together and pledged up to about $14.25 billion to replenish the Global Fund to continue the fights against HIV, TB, and malaria. I'm also very pleased that to work for somebody now, my boss, the current Secretary of State of the United States, Antony Blinken, who has prioritized global health and health security as one of the United States' foreign policy priorities. What a great fortune to have profited in the past from all these leaders and continue to profit from giants in the field and political leadership. Let me take a few moments to say a special thank you to my family, who have stood by me for the 30 years in this space as I navigate the complexities of global health, living from one country to another, from Belgium to Cote d'Ivoire to Ethiopia, back to the United States and my country of birth, Cameroon. I reserve a special place for my wife, lovely wife who is here, Susan, who has always been there, actually gave up her own career at the CDC in the US to come live with me in Ethiopia. Our three children, Pete, Paul, and Gladys. Gladys is always here, and I'm sure I'm going to get an earful tonight because she will tell me that I didn't talk enough about myself. Please give me at least a C grade when you evaluate my remarks. Colleagues and friends, we should all refuse to accept despair as a response to the multiple challenges facing the global health landscape. We should refuse to accept the views that scarcity in health commodities should tragically define inequalities and inequities and timely access to global health commodities when they do exist. We should refuse to despair on multilateralism and regionalism, but continue to strengthen and reform them when necessary, and make sure that we build a new public health architecture that speaks to the strengths of multilateral, regional, and national institutions. That is the only way I believe that we are going to continue to express solidarity and cooperation in addressing the health security challenges of our time. Only through cooperation, collaboration, coordination, and communication shall we have the courage to face the uncertainties of the future of global health that we all face in the 21st century. As I move to end my remarks, I've reflected on my 3 decades journey in global health and reached conclusion that good global health practice will require that we understand what are called the basic principles of 5 Ps. One is we must know the pathogen or pathology. Second P is knowing their population. The third P is knowing developing the right policies. Then a strong political leadership. Good politics, as I've argued in these remarks, is good public health practice and partnerships. Nothing of good in humanity has ever been achieved without true partnerships. In conclusion, dear friends, colleagues, excellencies, I strongly believe that we should continue to invest in global health leadership skills, especially in mentorship. Let's pass the baton of mentorship to the next generation. So I strongly think that Rudolf Virchow would know what I mean when I say that I accept this award in the spirit of a curator of some precious heirloom, which I hold in trust for the true owners, and these true owners are the next generation and the next leaders in global health. I thank you so much again for the honor.
We are going to perform for you an own composition, which is called Bajo un mismo cielo, under the same sky. It's a wish of peace, that we all live under the same sky with peace.
Day today darie yeah. Day today darie. Day today darie yeah. Day today darie yeah. Day today darie. Leia do da do de ya. Leia leia rie. Desde el seno de la tierra gime el llanto de su voz, presa de indiferencia, late la humanidad de un futuro desolado, donde reina la crueldad, naufraga la inocencia, ciega brutalidad, donde se esconde el sueño de paz y de bondad. Lastimada la libertad, viste de oscuridad. Desde el seno de la tierra gime el llanto de su voz, presa de indiferencia, late la humanidad de un futuro desolado, donde reina la crueldad, naufraga la inocencia, ciega brutalidad de sangre derramada, bañada de rencor. Sin aliento la libertad, vana pide piedad. Bajo un mismo cielo, en mi mundo, no hay fronteras, no hay banderas en mi mundo, no hay color ni religión, hijos de una raíz. Bajo un mismo cielo, en mi mundo, no hay pobreza, no hay riqueza, no hay invierno sin un techo ni dolor, solo un pan y un hogar. Bajo un mismo cielo, donde se esconde el sueño de paz y de bondad. Lastimada la libertad, viste de oscuridad, de sangre derramada, bañada de rencor. Sin aliento la libertad, vana pide piedad. Durei darie, durei darie, durei.
Camilo Villarrobles, Benea Perdañe. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. Thank you. Vielen Dank.
Well, thank you very much. Maravilloso. Muchísimas gracias. Well, I would like now to mark, as many of you know, this evening marks the almost opening of a very intense week, that of the World Health Summit. And I think it's quite important and certainly very relevant that we will now bridge this ceremony with the upcoming events later on. It is now my pleasure to hand over to the President of the World Health Summit, Axel Priess, and to the former President of the World Health Summit and current co-founder of the Virchow Foundation for Global Health, Detlef Ganten. Please, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. First of all, it's a real pleasure to stay on one stage here with you, Axel. And let me say, don't be afraid, no long speech. But the new foundation, the new Virchow Foundation, is an organization with many, many interactions around the world with the Council and the Prize Committee and so on. So many international organizations are part of the Virchow Foundation for Global Health. And Axel, perhaps you can support me. The World Health Summit also is has a long history, and there is a network of organizations behind that. Which ones are those?
Well, I probably don't want to go through the list, but I would like to follow up what my friend Tedros said, that in a crisis, you find out who your friends are. And I think we are in a global crisis, and I very much hope that we find out that everyone on Earth is our friend and is friend of life, because we will not survive if we don't bring together people from all over the world, from all sectors in society, from civil society, from industry, from politics. We heard a lot about that. And that's the working action of the World Health Summit. And today we had the very splendid celebration of the harvest, if I may say so. And from tomorrow on, we go back to the workbench and we try together to find solutions, or at least starting points for solutions for many global health problems.
So the many organizations involved in the World Health Summit will gather tomorrow. And what is important is that it's not just the organizations, it's not the networks, it's not the networks of networks. It's the close collaboration of colleagues and friends. The people behind are so important. And that is why I think we stay here. I know for the foundation, for the Virchow Foundation, you for the World Health Summit, but it's friends and it's people and it's engagement and empathy and the need to work together for a better future. And of course, the people also are those who participate in the meeting here. I won't mention them all, but Stephanie, thank you so much for your moderation. And of course, I cannot finish without saying, John, congratulations. Wonderful Virchow Prize winner for the first time, and you are the first one and the others to follow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And I want to allow myself, on a personal note, to really express my amazement that we are here tonight at the close of this amazing evening, recognizing an amazing personality. And I don't know whether any of you have any idea when this idea came up of creating the Virchow Foundation and going on to having a prize this evening, the first Virchow Prize for Global Health. Now, give me a guess. When did this idea start? Okay, it was 1 year ago. It was 1 year ago, on the occasion of last year's World Health Summit, that some of you, that I shall name or not name, but I give you a sense of who they can be, were already plotting around this wonderful, marvelous idea of creating this foundation for global health and having it give its first prize. And how amazing that it came about only 1 year ago. And I have to say that this evening we celebrated John Kengasong's amazing capacity to not only have a vision, but also have the talent to implement it. The same can be said to you and to the founders of the Virchow Foundation, who had this vision and were able to put it together in only 1 year. So thank you very much and well done. And with this, ladies and gentlemen, our ceremony has now come to a close, and on behalf of the Virchow Foundation for Global Health, it is my great pleasure and honor to thank you all for your time, to have been with us, to witness the handing of the first 2022 Virchow Prize for Global Health to John Kengasong. And if you will now join us for a reception, it would be also our great pleasure. Thank you, and good evening. Well done.